welcome back to the Balanced Mind podcast, where we talk about the meeting of the external world with the internal world and how we handle it in our everyday. So, thank you very much for coming back, Richard. Really appreciate it.
It's always good to be here. Always enjoy these
Uh,
conversations.
Love it. Thank you. So, I thought what would be really good to talk about is the Monday morning mindset, how to avoid that sinking feeling on a Sunday night, so that we can change and come in with a little bit more enthusiasm, perhaps for the week. And the reason I did that, I suggested it was because I hear all the time, and I used to experience this myself. I'd probably tell you a story on that where Mondays are, they dread it and they dread it from Sunday. And it's not even Sunday night, which was one of the things we talked about. As early on Sunday, they're starting to think about their week ahead. So they don't give us themselves time off almost. And I have been guilty of it. I thought it was a great topic for today. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible feeling, isn't it? I'm very fortunate these days. I love what I do. I just
Mm,
love what I do. So that I don't have that feeling on a Sunday night, but I'm very familiar with it. Had it for a long time, and
mm,
it's a horrible feeling, isn't it? It annoys you because you're thinking Sunday evening I should be enjoying the last of my weekend, and as you say, it is a feeling that builds up not even during the day. It can start building up from the Saturday lunchtime onwards, can't it, really?
yes.
Particularly if you've got some work that you think I really should be doing that or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's just it affects your mood on a Sunday night. That it affects how you are with those around you on a Sunday night. And that makes it even worse because you're aware that it's doing that, and that annoys you even more, and it makes you even worse, and you get into this spiral. Um,
Do, yes.
and occasionally, it's so bad that sort of 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a Monday morning, you're still awake and you're thinking, sod it, I'm just going to go in and do it because I can't be doing it. Yeah. And it's
Mm,
almost like you just go into the office early and just get started. And then, of course, we flip it around where you have this magic couple of hours where it's nice and quiet and the phone's not ringing and no one's in yet. But life shouldn't be like that, should it? It shouldn't be that we're trying to work in the middle of the night because that's the best time for us. Um, it's just horrible. And quite often there's nothing. There might be a particular thing that's in your mind. You might have a particular problem to face next week, or
mm.
there's an issue you're going to have to cover first thing. There might be something specific, but a lot of the time there isn't. There's nothing specific. It's just this, oh God, it's work tomorrow. It's that general feeling, and it's not nice.
Yeah, you've put the nail on the head there. You're right. If there's something big going on, you're involved in a project or a big client meeting or presentation, you can understand that. That would naturally put you on a more heightened state of alert, if you like. But it's when it's a general malaise and you can't really put your finger on it, but it does influence your mood so much that actually you've set the precedent for the week almost. You might get through Monday, but that start is not has not been good at all. And it's you're almost carrying that through the week. So that come Friday, it's like, "Whew, thank goodness, I've got the weekend." But you don't. You only have Friday night and Saturday before you're starting to sink again. And it's something I think a lot of people experience, particularly when they're doing something they don't love. So I love the fact that you said, since you've been doing more of what you love, working for yourself, you can choose. It makes a difference. And I very often talk about doing more and more of what we love and letting go the stuff we don't. Now, we can't do that overnight. I get that. But if we could understand what it was we don't like about what we're doing, then that might help us make the changes. But so very often we sit with it and allow it because we need the money, or I only know how to do this job, or, maybe, it's easier to do. You step out into the big wide world going for another role, or you start your own practice. It's scary. It's, you just don't know where to start with it. And actually, it's easier to stick with where you are. But it's not good for us, I don't think.
I wonder if sometimes we need to change our relationship with the working week. And yeah, this is a Richard Bruin theory. There's no science in it. This is, but it, I mean, the working week comes to the fact that it used to be that it was Monday to Friday, 9 to 5,
It was, yeah.
because we had to go into work, we had to go into the office because that's where all the resources were. You
Mm,
couldn't do your work at home without bringing loads and loads of boxes home with you, basically. So
I've done that.
there was this, there's this mental, there's a very hard line. Weekend is for us personally, family, all the rest of it, and the week is for work. Because we live in a world now where we can essentially work anywhere, anytime, where there's so much, we talk about flexible working practices. I wonder whether um, part of the solution to removing the Monday morning meeting is by removing that divide between Sunday night is personal, Monday morning's work. If we take a more flexible approach to our work, I'm conscious as I'm saying this that people are going to interpret this as, okay, so you want us working 7 days a week and all that. That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
What I'm saying is if we work when we want to work and when we need to work, as opposed to, and if we do non-work things when we want to and when we need to, if we take that approach to it, a far more flexible approach, then is that how we start to break down that barrier that's in between? So, I said then,
Mm,
you reach a point at 4 in the morning where you just go, sorry, I'll go in and do some work. But actually, is that sometimes that is the fix. Rather than me lying awake worrying about it, I'll go and do it. Rather than me sitting here on a Sunday night stressing about it, I'll just do it. But the flip
mm,
side is I'm knocking off early Monday because I've got something to do with the family, or I've got to go to the gym or something like that. So whether we can sort of level that line out rather than it be very hard allocated time, whether that is a way forward on this, so that actually that there
mm.
isn't that massive gap between this is what Sunday night's supposed to look like and this is what Monday morning's supposed to look like. Work-life balance has got to work throughout, but by changing our thinking towards it, can we almost like remove the Monday morning? Because at the moment, Monday morning is a big change. It doesn't have to be.
That is a good point. And I can't remember exactly the details of it, but I did read a study where there is something about the way we operate at the weekends or our free time than the way we operate at work. So there is a shift, and maybe it's the ramping up of demands on our time. When it's our family, it's habitual almost. It's the norm. When we get to work, we are then exposed to either our team, our clients, life. We're exposed to more things that perhaps we weren't over the weekend. So I think you're right. There is a shift in that leap from personal time to work time. But I think there's also something around the mindset that goes on. And I don't necessarily that I know that I have all the answers here, but if we could create a mindset that says Monday isn't necessarily a difficult day, because if you think I thought about this actually at 4 o'clock this morning. No, I didn't. I thought about this morning, funnily enough. I had a really nice day on Friday. Now, it stems from the fact that when I was working as a project manager, unless you would actually in the middle of delivery of the services, the IT services, you could pick and choose what you did on a Friday. And so it was easier. You may have had meetings here and there, but you could limit them and just say, oh, well, no, let's do that Monday. Hello. So Monday then starts to become stacked up, but Friday,
Yeah.
oh, it's a lot easier. The pressure was off for most of us in the project world. And I'm not sure how this would translate into accountancies, but they're professions as well, aren't they? So if you've not got fixed deadlines on a Friday, could you start to think about Mondays? And this is where the mindset changes. Instead of loading up Monday, push things out later in the week when you've already ramped up, and keep Mondays as a calm day, a day where, I don't know, you deal with your strategy, you work with your team on the strategy for the week. I know a lot of accountants who do use Mondays for that. Could it be that we take what you're saying and ease ourselves back into Mondays as we ease ourselves out of the week on Friday. It doesn't mean not working. It
No,
means doing more of what we love, I think.
yeah, and I think there is a yeah. When we had the last of the accounting firms, then there were two things that we did as a matter of course, which I think helped this Monday morning situation. One was to have a
Mm,
clear desk policy. So before you left on a Friday, your desk was clear.
yeah.
So and that was there were various reasons why we did that, but the main reason was that it meant you came in the next working morning and it wasn't all sitting there staring at you. And it also encouraged people to deal with things before they went home,
Mm.
rather than to just leave it all in a mess. So that was the first thing. Have a clear desk policy. You don't want to see my desk today, it doesn't about today. But yeah,
Yeah,
that so
we're
you
just
went
making
home,
suggestions. We're not
yeah.
there.
All the when anyone left home, all that there was on their desk was their computer and their phone, and that was it. And the other thing was the first thing we would do every single Monday morning was what we called our Monday morning meeting, oddly enough. So the team would come in, grab their coffees, get settled down, and the first thing that we would do would be, as a group, talk about the work. Where are we? What do we need to do? What's the plan for the week? What's everyone doing? Just get everybody clear.
Love
So
it.
it meant, first of all, we start the week in a very organized fashion. It gave me the opportunity to do a pep talk, if you like, just to set the level for the week. But it meant that people didn't start with their own problem. If there was a work
Mm.
problem, it was immediately shared. Okay, I've got an issue with this, or I'm behind on this, or I've got a clash in this. What do I do with it? So it starts the week in a very organized fashion, but also in a very supportive fashion as well. No one was coming in and just getting on with the problem that they were stuck with on Friday. And I that always helped. Talking to the team, they said that always helps. Now you've got to be brave because you're saying, what we're saying is between 9 and 10, our week as far as clients were concerned started at 10 o'clock on a Monday. The idea came from when I used to have my Saturday job. I used to work in a shop, and it was always staff. The shop opened at 10 o'clock on a Monday rather than 9 o'clock on Monday because it was staff training. And I thought, well, why don't we do that? And
Yeah.
if the client wants you at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, they're very quickly going to get used to the fact that they're not going to get hold of you at 9 o'clock on a Monday
It
morning. So
is.
it's
You
just,
educate all round, don't you?
yeah, it starts the week with you in control. But I think it was more than that. People knew that they weren't going to come in and just be stuck with that problem that they were stuck with on a Friday night. And if something came into their
Mm.
head over the weekend, they could think, okay, I'll bring it up on Monday morning. So they could park it again and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
And I do like the idea of the Monday morning. We used to have them. They were slightly different because it was a big organization and they could be a bit tedious when they went through everyone. If you've got, 7 people, not a problem. When you've got, 30, 40 people on a call, it's
Mm.
a bit of a nightmare. But I do like that idea. And what I like about the idea of reviewing the week ahead is because it ties in with what the brain likes. The brain loves it when there's a plan. It does not like unresolved answers or things that are a problem, and it will gnaw away at you. And so I wonder, and this is just me thinking out loud, what if you had a Friday roundup?
Mm.
What you're doing there is allowing I mean this we need to think about the sole traders here as well, but you could do this on your own. Or what if you started, Monday morning in a coffee shop, or you don't go into work straight away. If you work from home, you do go to a coffee shop, but if you do start what you've got working space, don't go there, start somewhere else and plan your week. But on a Friday evening or Friday afternoon, so if there's anything you need to finish up, that's fine. But a Friday afternoon, lunchtime, you review and reflect on the week. How did it go? Did we get done what we wanted? Da, 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 da. And then what you're doing is you're easing yourself into the weekend. There may be something you still need to do. That's fine. That's your choice. But if you've got a problem, what you can do, and this is another brain hack, is you know the answer. It's just not front of mind, back of mind. It's in that deeper unconscious mind. Ask yourself a question and allow it to ferment. You'll either get an answer straight away. If you're in tune with yourself, you'll be able to do that quite quickly. But over time, your deeper mind will be reflecting on what you've asked and it will look for a solution or a step to getting the solution because that's all you're looking for. But what you're doing by looking at it on a Friday lunchtime, you can write down what your next steps would be for that problem. So you don't have to resolve the problem. Who do you need to speak to? What's the first thing that needs to be done? What do you need? That's a beautiful question. I love that question. What do you need? Because then that will bring up a whole raft of things. But in that way, then perhaps we're bridging the weekend. We're rising up
Yeah.
to having a wonderful weekend and we're easing back into the week and how we need to work. Do you think that would work? Is that something
Um,
that accountants do? Or am I just,
I had two different questions there. Do I think it'll work? And is that something that accountants do? I think it's because what you're talking about there is recognizing the mental side of the role again, isn't it?
I am,
And it's
yes,
it's saying, look, there's something more important on a Friday afternoon than just head down, see how far you can get into the workload.
I think so.
It's about taking a step back and looking at where we are as a group of people on a Friday afternoon. I
Mm,
think it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's more and more talk these days about 4 day weeks, for instance, and moving to a 4-3 week rather than a 5-2 week. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's almost inevitable over the next few years in many cases. But even with that, there's still the fact that we have to recognise the mental side of what we're doing here. I was talking to someone a while back now, I was sort of putting forward the idea of of essentially finishing work on a Friday lunchtime, but not
yes, that's
finishing
what
work
I've
on a
said.
but don't finish work on a Friday lunchtime. In other words,
Mm,
say to the team, look, we work till Friday lunchtime. So if you're happy to, yeah, if you're clear and got everything done, right, yeah, just do whatever you like Friday afternoon. If you're not, if you've still got some stuff on, at least you've got Friday afternoon to play with. It's not into Saturday or Sunday night or pushed back to Monday morning. So it's
exactly.
a bit of a is con the wrong word? Because you're being open about it. You're saying, look, you can if you're clear, go home Friday lunchtime or go home at 2 o'clock Friday or 4 o'clock. In other words, go home whenever you like on a Friday after lunchtime. But equally, if you something you want to get finished off, here's an opportunity because it's going to be a bit quieter. We'll tell clients that you're not around Friday afternoon, for instance. So it's a
Mm,
bit quieter. So you've just got, and maybe there's 1 or 2 people gone out the office, so you've got a bit more time to yourself. So we turn it into Friday afternoon is different to the rest of the week, and it's the same sort of strategy I think that you were talking about there, which is creating like this transitional period
I think so.
between work and weekend.
I do love that. I endeavour to keep Fridays free now. Do I see people? Yes, I've got a client who needs to see me Friday evening. So you can change things, but on the whole, I try and keep Fridays relatively free for the things that I love doing. But what I like about what you said there is that, you finish work on a Friday, and what a reward that is. What a reward that could be for working doing all the stuff you need to do in the 4.5 days you've got. It's a great way of doing it, I think, definitely. And certainly when I've worked with my clients who need strategy time, I've encouraged them to find time in their calendar. So I'm not even prescriptive, but it's interesting how Friday becomes the day they choose. It's a really great way. There's a lady I'm sure you possibly know her, Amanda C. Watts.
Yeah.
She talks about Freedom Fridays. I love it. What a great way of looking at it. So we need something for Mondays. I don't know. We need another word that's equivalent to freedom, but for Mondays. So it's got an M in it. We'll put that challenge out there. We need something that suggests freedom, but is for Mondays. Because I think if we can just, you're right, bridge that gap. And here's the thing, because it could be a mindset of recognizing how you operate in the world, it would work for holidays,
Mm.
for, bank holidays, for time off when you need it. You can start to look at it. I remember I used to have a team of about 16 people at one time. And when they booked their holidays, whether it was a week or 2 weeks, I could see the week beforehand. things were tailing down. They were scaling down on what they were doing. Any new requests, I'm on holiday, no, or go and see somebody. And then when they came back, it took a week for them to ramp up. A bit extreme. I'm sure that was just my view of it. But I think we need to think about ourselves, we need to start to scale back before we have a holiday and not take
Mm.
any more on. And when we come back, we start to scale up again in whatever way that looks like, because what it does is allow that transition. And actually, it works better for the brain as well because it doesn't like it either. Because to go from a nice soft Sunday, wherever you end up on a Sunday when you start thinking about work, to suddenly going to work, it's usually a sort of there's an emotion behind it. It's a, oh, I've got to get that done, or oh gosh, yeah, I've got to go back. There's a shift in your energy field of emotions that says this is not good, and the brain has got to respond to that.
And it's back to this point, really. Yeah, I've said before, I think that the accountant's main weapon is their diary. And I think your diary is where you can take control of everything. And yeah, I've had so many conversations with accountants at all levels, partners, managers, where they've said, I would love to get to a point where I'm only working 4 days a week, or I'd love to get to a point where I can go to the gym early on,
Yeah,
in the afternoons. And I say, just do it. Put it in your diary because that point won't ever arrive unless you make it happen. So therefore,
exactly.
stick it, from now on in, cross out all Wednesday afternoons, if that's when you want to go to the gym, for instance. And they do it. And does the business collapse around their ears? No, of course it doesn't, because they plan the rest of the week around that time. Yeah, one of the
Mm,
reasons why I'm confident that we can move from a 5 day week to a 4 day week is the vast majority of people can be as effective working 4 days than five, because we're more focused and we want to get stuff done, so we're clear and all the rest of it. So Ryan, my wife and partner, she's worked. We've had. Well, we started that approach when she had her first child, and she didn't work Fridays from there on in, with a view to then when Josh went to school, she would start working Fridays. Well, he's 30 next week, and she's never worked a Friday in all that time.
well done,
But
that girl.
yeah, yeah. But she gets more work done than I do because she's focused at what she does. And I think it's just this thing. If you want to change something, we've had this conversation before, haven't we? If you want to change something, change it, because the world isn't going to change it for you. So
No.
if you want your weekends to change it. Change your Fridays, change your Mondays, change what how you approach weekends. If you want to do a bit of work on a Saturday morning because the kids are out playing football anyway, and your partner's doing something, well, do it. Why not? Well, you don't feel, well, I shouldn't be working on a Saturday.
Mm,
It's just do work the way that you want to do it, because that's, by doing that, you're going to remove a lot of the frustrations and a lot of the stresses. Sometimes we don't have that luxury. Sometimes it's just got to get done. But the vast majority of the time, we can take a different sort of control over it. And so,
mm.
if we want the Sunday night to change it. Whether that be change what you do to your Monday morning or change what you do to Friday night. Invariably, it's not going to be one thing, is it? It's going to be change your
It
approach
is a
to a lot of different
collection.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talked there about, you've got a client who you see on a Friday night. I would never do that, but that's a
Mm,
personal decision on your part and on my part. I've rejected new business because they wanted to meet on a Friday night, and I've said we don't do that. Because I
mm,
know that they're going to be meet. They'll have other holes in their diary where we could meet. It's just that they've assumed that as the accountant,
mm.
because they wouldn't see the lawyer on a Friday night, they certainly wouldn't see the bank manager on a Friday night. Why do they think it's okay to see the accountant on a Friday night?
Yeah.
Because most would go, yes, that's fine. And I'm going, no, sorry, we don't do that.
Yeah. I don't do it for everybody. Let me
No, no,
just
no.
make it very clear here, listeners. It's just that this particular lady's in teaching and there's a parents' evening when we would normally be chatting. So
And that's
but
fine.
yeah,
If
it's
it,
it's about sort of, well, it is about understanding when you make exceptions and when you don't.
yes.
So yeah, I hear you on that. There was something you were saying, and I thought that was quite powerful, certainly for the way our brain functions, because I've talked about the way the brain likes a plan. So your Monday mornings are great, and suddenly realizing that anything you've got to get done happens on a Friday. So it's a bit like the brain liking that plan. If it knows that you've got to get something done, you can start to apply focus. Yes, there are things that get in the way, but guess what? You can work on those as well. Procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, all those good things. They are just things that you need to recognize and overcome. But isn't it funny how here's a story, if I may share. Years ago, my I worked in the same organization as my sister, IT, fast paced, really, you had to get things done and you were under constant pressure. It was a growing business. It was lovely. She left to get a job, I'm just going to say in a government institution, and she went there and she worked at the same pace. And every day her job was done by about 10 or 11 o'clock. And everybody was aghast. What are you doing? You're showing us up. Don't because she was looking for work. Stop that. You're showing us up and we need to do it takes all day for us. To be fair, I'm going back sort of 30, 35 years ago. So this is not disrespectful to government organizations today. But they had a time and they had a job and they made one fit the other.
Hmm.
But she'd shown, and I don't think it was necessarily a good thing either, but she had shown by some focus and getting it done and getting on with it, you could shrink the amount of work done in the day such that she had a good half day. That's 2.5 days a week almost. Crazy when you think about it. She wouldn't have had that in industry. They would have snaffled her up with other tasks. Go and help so and so, sort this out, work on that project, all manner of different things. So I think we need to be aware of time and that if you don't fill it, the work you've got will fill it.
Yes.
So I think it comes back to your deadlines, doesn't it? Your that we talked about in the last podcast, this idea of setting yourself deadlines. It doesn't work for me, but I only because I know that I've made it up. But for some people, it will work really, really well. For me, the best way of doing it is environmental. Move myself out of where I would normally work and sit somewhere different. And then I can become focused and do it. So for me, it's not a deadline, it's an environmental situation that helps me to get things done. But otherwise, you're right. We just make the task fill the time.
Yeah, I think we do get. We're all familiar with the situation, so I'm not being critical of anyone here. But we will commonly see good people, hardworking people,
Yeah.
but essentially who are just filling the week. They're just working. They're at the desk and they're doing task after task after task, and they're getting through to the end of Friday.
Mm.
And in some cases, in the small minority of cases, that's because they're in the wrong job. In the vast majority of cases, it's just because they've been beaten down by the work environment and all the rest of it. And if we change our relationship with time, and if we change our relationship with how with our decision making, that's how we can change all of that. We do have to. We've outgrown the 9 to 5 mentality. That's not the world we're in today. But we
Have we
still,
outgrown it or are we
well,
still living with it? I don't
we,
know if we've
we,
outgrown it, but the
uh,
bit the world has. The world has
yeah,
said,
yeah. This is my point.
"Oh,
When I say we've outgrown it, it no longer fits us.
no,
It's like our favorite suit or favorite jacket, whatever that used to fit us, now it doesn't.
yeah,
So we have to change it, or we keep squeezing ourselves into it, and no one's comfortable. So we have to. We're the going to one again. We're the ones who are going to have to change that. Now we either just change it by getting a bigger suit, and sometimes that just depresses us even more, and all the rest of it, or we change it by going, well, actually, do I need to wear a suit anymore? Why don't I wear a turtleneck? Or it's taking a different approach towards it. Does the
mm,
world require me to wear a suit? It sounds a bit of an odd comparison, but I think it's that with time.
yeah,
I've got to be in at 9. I've got to be working till 5. I'm here Monday to Friday. And then within that framework, I've got this work to be done. Why don't we start with I've got this work to be done. Now, how shall I do it? When shall I do it? Which order shall I do it? It's
mm.
changing how we approach it, and having as employers and employees finding better ways of doing it. that suit us better. Because as an employer, if it suits your team better as well, in most cases, that's good for you. Yeah.
Yes.
So we talk about flexibility, but are we really being flexible? I think that's where it comes down to, and this whole
Mhm.
thing about almost like, look, okay, look, why don't you work when you like? You've got let's say you've got a 35-hour contract or a 40-hour contract. Do it when you like. Not bothered. Do it when you like.
Mm,
Just, but then we need to communicate on how we do it and all the rest of it. So it's just an
absolutely.
example, but I think we can be far more, we can widen our thinking to, if we're going to change, if we want to change the Sunday night depression, then we're not going to change that just by, cutting work out or things like that. It's a wider approach, isn't it? It's almost like
It is, yeah.
we talk about work-life balance, don't we? And then we go, but there is no such thing because it's all one thing, which is life. And therefore, if you want to change something in the work approach to that, you're going to need to look at your wider approach to life and go, all right, how do I change that?
Love it. So it all comes back to us again. I do like that because
Yes.
that just I feel vindicated. It all starts with you. But I think it is right, and I think you've come up with some really good suggestions there. So that's brilliant. So the question to you, the listener, is what can you do to help make that transition into Mondays much easier? There's been a few recommendations during this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you like and subscribe. They do help us to make sure that we know we're on topic and providing the information that you need. Richard, thank you so much. Looking forward to our next one, all about goals and objectives.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.